You're watching Leafs Morning Take with host Nick Alberga and former NHLer Jay Rosehill. The show starts now.
What's good, everybody? And away we go for the Monday edition of Leafs Morning Take, presented by Betano. Nick Alberga, once again joined by special guest co-host Bruce Boudreau. Gabby, thank you so much for doing this. How was your weekend, buddy?
It was good, a little rainy out here in Pennsylvania, but other than that, it was really good.
Same here in Toronto.
A lot of football, a lot of hockey. Can't lose there.
Can't go wrong with that front. I see you have some delivery people in the background. You're an absolute gem for doing this once again. And I don't know how you stand in terms of holiday shopping. Do you tend to get it done early? Because I looked at my calendar and I'm like, oh, crap, it's December.
Nick, I have forgot to buy my wife a birthday and Christmas present the last couple years. So I do not do shopping. She does it all. And I just hope she still loves me at the end of the day.
I love how she's probably standing like 3 feet from you, eh?
She hears. She's got the smirk on, yeah.
And to be frank with this, she is the MVP of the show, is your wife, for setting this all up and being with us, of course, and being sort of your PR person too, right? You've been in the game. Sometimes you got the PR beside you. Make sure you say the right thing, right?
Yes, and she'll give me a slap if I say the wrong thing or do the wrong thing. Believe me, I know where my lot in life is.
We love it. We love it. So again, our mutual friend Gord Stellick is going to drop by in about 15 or so. We're going to do a bit of a roundtable here, discussing the Leafs, talking about what's going on. Weird quirk in the schedule again, eh, Gabby, where it's like they had 2 games in like 15-day stretch, and now they're off till Thursday again here.
Yeah, you know what? I'll tell you this. Coaches hate this right now. They hate it because practices get boring and they get long. And you want to play games. And because when you're sitting out, the other thing that happens is you look at other teams gaining in the standings all the time and you're getting nothing. So say the Leafs lose to Boston last week or on Saturday. So now they look and by Thursday they've only gained 1 point in the standings, and some teams are going to gain maybe 3 or 4 points, and that drives coaches nuts because we want to actively play. We know that if we play 3 games in 4 nights, it might be a little tiring at the end, but this is the time you gain in the standings. So they're going crazy, but their time will come when they play 2 games in 15 days or 3 games in 20 days. Eventually they're going to be playing 17 games in 31 days. So it'll catch up to them.
Well, that's the thing, right? Is they're going to go back the other way. And you talk about crazy. I don't know if you've seen the big topic of conversation in this market since Saturday's game where Brad Marchand scores the OT winner, is the captain, John Tavares. And I guess the lackluster back check. What did you make of that whole thing? Is it justified that people are pissed off about this?
You know what? People in Toronto get pissed off about everything, but he's watching the play. I think he could have, we all want you to skate hard back right to between the dots and full speed. But I'm betting he's going, oh, we're going to lose. And then all of a sudden, oh, it's still loose. And then he's got to go a little bit. But I wouldn't put too much blame. You could blame somebody on every shift for this, if this was the case. So I wouldn't throw too much on, behind closed doors, they say, John, you got to play the whole game. You can't not do this, but I wouldn't say that this is the end of the world.
Because that was a feeling for me as well. Like I was conflicted, doing the show today, which angle I was going to take on the whole John Tavares thing. And I think we're making something out of nothing. I think also omnipresent in the play was like Nylander going down, but it took him 1 billion hours to get up. It was very lackadaisical, a weird developing goal. But I think you're so right. Obviously, this. It happens on every play where I think if you had a camera on every player, you're going to find one guy who's probably not giving it his all. And I think you got to pick your battles as a coach, right?
Yeah. And quite frankly, if you had every player giving it his all, every shift, then you're talking maybe Stanley Cup finals. That's why the play picks up and everybody wants to see it. But I mean, when you think of the play, Nylander's coming up, you're sort of relaxed, you're looking for a change. Then all of a sudden he turns it over, and you find yourself watching the play rather than reacting to the play. And I think that's what John was doing. He's watching, going, oh, he's got a breakaway, Marchand's going to score. And then he picks it up because now we're back in the game, but it's a little too late. But I mean, I wouldn't. To me, it was human nature, and I mean, if we're blaming him for the loss, then I think we've got more troubles than we need to have.
Can I play devil's advocate? And I normally do this, as you know, but like, what can you say to the contrarian who's like, well, this is a reason why this team can't get it done when it matters most because of examples like this? Like, what would you say to something like that?
I'd say look at any other team. You look at the best team in the league. You'll see the same thing on a play like this. I mean, we've had the best teams. I've been associated with some of the best teams in hockey. I remember one time Getzlaf coming in overtime and giving a drop pass to nobody, and and they went in and scored. But I mean, it's like everybody's the first 2 seconds is a gasp. What just happened? And then it's the reaction. Like, I mean, nobody's thinking Nylander's going to fall in that situation. He's waving to the bench to make a change. He's like, I mean, and this is William Nylander. He's in control all the time. Then boom, the skates give out, and then the reaction sort of takes place. You start off by watching, and then you end up by working hard, but it's too late. But it was just one of those things. I mean, I cannot sit there and chastise John Tavares for losing the game.
Yeah, definitely. I'm with you on that front. It is also a great day for if you're looking for some gift ideas. We have Gord Stellick coming up momentarily. Revival, the chaotic, colorful journey of the 1977-78 Toronto Maple Leafs is out now with Damian Cox, of course, and Gord Stellick. So look for that, and also look for this gift idea. I hope some Nation gear could help you. Order by December 10th to receive your Nation gear before the holidays. Visit nationgear.ca to check out our latest collection. Again, nationgear.ca to check out our latest collections. You can find t-shirts like this one, a lot of the things we've been rocking on the show throughout this season. And also, don't forget at the Leafs Nation 401 on YouTube, where you can find this podcast. If you're watching right now, hit the like button, hit that subscribe button at the Leafs Nation 401. Leafs Morning Take, wherever you find your podcast as well, whether it be Spotify, Apple Music, wherever you get the job done. Leafs Morning Take. Find us. Meantime, brought to you by DoorDash. It's time for the appetizer. For a limited time, our listeners can get 25% off, up to $10 in value, and zero delivery fees on their first order of $15 or more when you download the DoorDash app and enter code NATION25. That's code NATION25 for 25% off your first order with DoorDash. Don't forget uppercase or NATION25. Offer valid in Canada, subject to change. Terms apply. And we're going to bring in Gord Stellick now for the show because he's waiting so patiently, and you wore a suit and tie for him. So here's Gord Stellick. Gordo, how are you, buddy?
Hey, I'm good. I'm good.
This is just for you, Gordo, right here, suit and tie.
Well, we had Dustin Brown on our show this morning, and he talked about the special year with you in Manchester, what a great coach you were, how much you impacted his career. But he did say you often had mustard or ketchup on your tie. That's the one thing he did say. But pot calling kettle black, Bruce.
It's a known fact, yes. And you know what? We were just on earlier, and I'm sitting there going, don't tell Nick, quit saying you get 25% off somewhere. Gord will be off this thing in about 2 seconds, dialing for DoorDash.
And Nick, did Nick freeze on me? I don't know. Nick looks like $1 million though. Anyway,
it's just us two now, kid.
Okay, we're carrying the show. We've done this before. But anyway, and by the way, the book Nick was talking about, you're a part of it. You're a part of that team. And it was great getting your insight along with the likes of Daryl Sittler and Tiger Williams and Lanny McDonald and Ian Turnbull. So I know you look back, that's still a fond memory for you, I imagine.
Well, I can't wait to actually read it because it will bring back so many things that I have forgotten that you'll just sit back and go, oh man, I remember that. That was great. But I mean, the times were great. It was amazing to me. Like, I mean, the good team that the Leafs had at that point, okay, in the 70s there were really good teams under Roger. It was just, I think Harold was so impatient he couldn't get it better. And then when those guys became so popular, even when the Leafs, like in the 90s, were being better, everybody kept thinking of the Tiger Williamses and the Daryl Sittlers and the Ian Turnbulls, and that's maybe like the where we're at in age. Those are the people that we remember the most. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Just say Nick's computer apparently crashed. He's going to be back in a second. So our timing, hopefully, that movie Houston, we have a problem. We get Nick back safely, like they did those 3 astronauts all those years ago. So you have the tie on. Does that mean you're working today? Is this a working day or what's going on?
No, because I'm doing this and I had to do it from home because I had another something earlier. I'm going straight to the New Jersey offices after this. So usually I go to the hotel and rest for the afternoon, but because I'm on at 6 o'clock, by the time I get to Jersey and get how you have the pre-show to find out what's going on and everything, then there's no sense going to a hotel. I'll just go right to where we go. And it's at the Major League Network, Major League Baseball networks. And so it's a pretty big place, and it's a lot of fun just going there. But I wanted to make sure that I have enough time for everything.
So are you going to get the scoop first about where Ohtani goes?
Where who?
Ohtani goes? Yeah.
I mean, I might sniff around today to see who's there. Usually they have, like, if the Buck Showalter or, some of the big name baseball guys come right in there, and I sit there with my eyes gawking wide open at these guys, and I try to find the scoops as much as I can. But I mean, it's incredible, for want of a better term, the difference between the NHL network, which is we use half or portion of the building, and the MLB network, which is about 10 times bigger than the hockey network side of thing. And they have everything going, but anything that gets to be known is known there.
How about you guys are the absolute best. I dropped out. I was so enamored with the conversation. My computer just gave way. And it's like, let these two professionals go at it. So I really, really appreciate it, guys. You guys are the absolute best. Let's get in the conversation here on the show. Where did you guys first meet? Like, where did you guys first link up? Do you remember the first time you met, Gordo?
Well, see, I would be in awe of Bruce in all seriousness, because I was a fan of the Toronto Marlies, and he was on one of the all-time great junior hockey teams ever. So I knew all about him on the ice. And then when I got this dream to work with the Toronto Maple Leafs, the one time was 1981. I asked Punch Imlach if I could go down to the American Hockey League playoffs, and then the New Brunswick Hawks were playing the Maine Mariners. I think I might have been December. I'm going deep. 2 really good American Hockey League teams.
Yeah.
And I remember being down, like I was just 23, or I was 22 then. And so the guys were my age. And I remember Stu Gavin's a guy I talked to a lot, but Bruce was a guy I just shot the breeze with. And boy, the minors, there's no cell phones. There's no anything. Guys are looking to chat, very intimate. I think some guys might've been wondering who the hell I was, maybe a little suspicious, whatever. But Bruce, and the other one, I remember that John McCauley did that game. They were hoping he could resurrect his officiating career because he got punched in the eye about a year earlier. And anyway, it didn't happen. It became a supervisor of officials. But you and I walked out just like we had dinner, and I don't know, which is neat. So it was kind of like that. And then after that, we always had a kinship, but respected that, it was different. I'm not a player. And I think that was one of my strengths, Bruce. I never tried to pretend I was a player. And the other side, but we just had a really good kinship and friendship.
And on my part, no one talked to him, so I felt sorry, and I went over to him and said hello. You know what? He was always and I know this is, I don't want to get this into a love fest, but I mean, whether we were traveling when he was a statistician, basically with the Leafs, I sat with him. I remember quite a few times, and he was easy to talk to, and he knew his stuff. So that's like when you're with me, if we can talk sports and hockey stuff, we're going to be instant friends. Because I mean, I don't know anything about anything else, and believe it when I say that hockey and sports is all I know.
Guy's a professional broadcaster. He's an author too, Gordo. Got a new book out, eh, buddy?
Got it. Yeah, I was chatting with Bruce a little bit about it. You mentioned
Great.
it coming in, and it's about Damian Cox and I did. You can kind of see 67 back there. I can't know which way to go here. Go this way. So that's when we did a book 19 years ago about the last Leaf team to win a Stanley Cup, and then we just decided that team Bruce was a part of with Borje Salming's overwhelming last appearance last year. Just how iconic that group was, and the four of them, Borje Salming, Tiger Williams, Daryl Sittler, Lanny McDonald, remain best friends 40 years later or 30 years later. I mean, how often is Austin Matthews, Mitch Marner, John Tavares, Morgan Riley, are they going to be best friends in 30 years? And Bruce, you are still connected. I mentioned how tight you are with that Toronto Marley group, but also that Leaf group as well. Like it's just a fabulous bond from a great era.
It really is, Gord. Like, I mean, I hadn't seen Tiger for a while last year, and I did an Easter Seals event with him, as you know, and we just started talking as if we were still playing together, and all the things that went on, and talking about stories about, hanging out after the games and stuff. And I just thought, and when we went to the event, I thought that I hope he still remembers who I am type thing. And he came over, hugs, and we just started talking right away. So sometimes you get that. Usually you get it when you're on a team that is wins a championship. So there's a memory there. But this was sort of a galvanized thing. And when in 78, when we beat the Islanders, was like winning the Stanley Cup, I think, for this group. And everybody became pretty tight after that. And I mean, that doesn't have, and I think Roger Nielsen had a lot to do with that in the way he brought the team together, but they're all great memories. And anybody I talk to that's my age or around that, they remember those playoffs against the Islanders and so well,
And Nick, I want to bring up with Bruce one last thing, because we were trying to hunt this down. We found the mystery of the golf cart accident. Okay. So just to go back.
Okay.
Yes. So the team took a break after a game, went to Panama City in Florida for 3 or 4 nights, the Leafs. And there was this mythical story wasn't mythical, but Borje Salming was in a golf cart with somebody. And then it ended up that the golf cart flipped, whatever. And somehow Randy Carlyle got 30, 40 stitches and actually was out of the lineup for weeks. So Randy Carlyle told me the story that, yes, he was in the golf cart with Borje. He said alcohol was not involved, but I'm sure maybe a libation or two had been consumed, but whatever. But he goes, Borje's going 100 miles an hour like he does everything. He's going stupid fast. So they hit from the path. They hit all of a sudden like grass or different dirt. So the cart started to flip. And Randy, when he went out, he scraped his leg, got 40 stitches. And Jimmy Gregory was pissed off in the Leafs management about they lost Randy. And Randy was a young kid and he wasn't able to play for a few weeks. But he said the guy said to him, it's lucky it wasn't Borje. Otherwise, you're not coming back to Toronto. If Borje is the guy that got 40 stitches in the golf cart with you, that would be the other case. But that was the golf cart. We're trying to get the golf cart mystery. Guys seem to be a little, I want to play that down. But that's who it was, Bruce.
Well, you know what? I still disagree with you, but that's fine. Because the way I remember it was me and Randy in the cart. We were driving, and Borje jumped on the side of the cart where, you know how it flips one side, and then it went back the other side. That's how we got her. But either way, I know it was Randy Carlyle. That nobody would have cared at all if it was me. They wouldn't care. That's why it's only Borje. It's thank God Borje didn't get hurt. Not thank God Bruce didn't get hurt. It's thank God Borje didn't get hurt in the golf cart. You know the funny thing about this whole thing is when we stopped in Atlanta back in that day, we always used to go to a shoe store, and because they gave cheap shoes, and we'd get all the deals on them. And I remember going in there and going, oh man, shoes for $19, I can buy these things and get away. But but they just give you the box, and when I opened the 2 boxes, there was 4 different shoes in the boxes. And I'll never forget how the guys just wouldn't let it go. They made me wear these things for the next game or two.
Ridiculous. There's so many stories, and you guys really should have your own podcast. I think it's tremendous. And guys, I want to shift the conversation as well to like what's happening right now. Gordo, I asked Gabby off the top, the whole John Tavares thing. Are we overblowing this thing? Because that people are pissed off about this.
Yeah, I wouldn't say we're overblowing it. It's 24/7 media, and that's what it is. So, I mean, it's like Nick, you hated it too, being micromanaged, and I think one of Bruce's successes was not being a micromanaging coach. Because I look at the NFL; they got 87 assistant coaches. You got a tight end coach. Like when you come on the sidelines, will you leave me alone? But you're the only guy I'm coaching. I gotta. Well, just leave me alone, okay? I know I dropped the pass, okay? Leave me alone. And I just think. That's the same thing with the non-reaction against Boston a few weeks ago. It happened to catch a 20-second clip that, guys weren't responding, and, it was worse than it looked. But you got to move on from all those kinds of things. And I heard Bruce just talk about it before we took over the show when you bailed for a bit, but about, like it happens to every team. It happens to every player. A guy's got a perspective thinking, oh my God, it's good. And then all of a sudden you look bad, or you look whatever. And that's why they play the games.
Fair enough. I wanted to get into sort of the nucleus of that game over the weekend with Boston, where it's like, I don't know, for some reason the Leafs, like Boston has their number, right, Bruce? But I think you look at that game, I think there's a lot of positives you can grab. Like I sort of joked on social media, it was moral victory night on Leafs Twitter, but it really felt that way. And I at least left that game feeling more positive than I have been about this team the last little while. Did you?
Well, I mean, they played 2 games against Boston, and both have gone to overtime or shootout, So, I mean, they can compete with anybody, and Toronto always, for the last couple of years, they're as good as any team on any given night. And for most nights, they're better than most teams. But I'm not a believer in the Boston Bruins this year. And as good as their record is, I think they're extremely well coached, and they play an extremely good team game. But I've looked at the players and the rosters, quite extensively. And I mean, after that first line of Marchand, Pasternak, and if it's Zacha, it's Zacha. If whoever else is in the middle, they're pretty. The rest of the group better just hold on and be even or +1, and that's the way they win. With that first line, the goaltending, and the top 4D. So, I mean, I think in the playoffs they'll have a struggle, because they got a lot of average players playing really good right now. But I think that at the same time, they're not anywhere near as deep as a lot of the teams in the East.
Yeah, I don't know what to make, Nick, of remember the Leafs had the Bruins number for about 2 or 3 years in the regular season. And it's kind of like decades ago. I mean, that Ottawa Senators team should have won a Stanley Cup. Sure. And they had the Leafs number in the regular season, and the Leafs just had their number under Pat Quinn, man, oh man, in the playoffs. And so I never know what to make and how it will translate in the playoffs. So it's kind of like bring them on. Whoever you got to play, you got to play. And I'd feel comfortable the Leafs taking on Boston. I agree with Bruce in a sense. I think we all did that. 5 years ago, okay, Toronto Maple Leafs, the young guns, their second, third year. 5 years later, meaning now, they're going to supplant Boston as the perennial first place in the Atlantic Division, and it hasn't happened. Give the Bruins credit; they're still there at there where really. I mean, Tampa Bay's the one that's kind of struggling to stay up there. So I think you can't lose those kind of guys like Boston did and not slip a little. But boy, oh boy, they really buy into that team concept, and it comes from their inner core of leaders. And that's something I see strides in that with the Maple Leafs as far as their inner core of leaders go as well. That team concept.
You just knew too, guys, Gabby, you just knew it was going to be Brad Marchand after everything that transpired the first game and the lack of, I didn't expect anything. Nothing really happened towards Marchand, but he just has a knack for doing that big thing. And that's why he wears the C for the Bees now, right?
Well, I think he's also he is in the top of overtime goal scoring in Boston history, and
Insane.
it seems like something always he's involved in something all the time. And the other thing, when I read that, oh, he hadn't scored a point in 5 games or something coming into that game, I said, oh, that's such bad news for us, because he's going to score. He scores that goal, he gets 3 goals the next day. Good things follow this young man, and he's made them happen by being quite a solid player over the years. But he's a good choice for captains, and I think the Bruins always find the good choice for captains. And they got guys in the wings waiting to be captain. After Char, after Bergeron, after Marchand. Who's the next one? Is it McAvoy when he's done? I don't know, but they've always got guys that are coming up and being great leaders in that team.
And I say this in an endearing way. The 2 things you can't stand about Boston are Brad Marchand and Jack Edwards, right? Those are the ones that says
that call was ridiculous the other night, Gordo.
If I can avoid the Bruin call, I will do it all. Even though Andy Brickley was a teammate of mine, and he was actually a line mate, and I think he's really good. Jack Edwards could drive anybody up a tree.
But he's following Freddie Cusick and Derek Sanderson. Okay, they know what their audience is, right? So, and he is really, really a nice guy. He really, and actually Brad Marchand, I know there's a ton of stories, but Jim Ralph talks about some golf tournament, whatever it was. There was an auction item, and it was like a Make-A-Wish thing and going somewhere, but the airfare wasn't covered for this particular sport event. And then Marchand quietly covered the airfare for the guy and the young man and his dad, right? Did it quietly and anonymously, but he can still piss you off on the ice, though. So that's different. You got to separate the 2.
Very, very effective. There's no doubt about that, and just has been a thorn in the Maple Leaf side since pretty much entering the league. Gordo, I've often thought about you, and working with you was an absolute blast. But the one vivid memory I always bring up on this podcast is when the Zamboni driver played for the Carolina Hurricanes and beat the Leafs. And the reason why I bring this up, I haven't had a feeling like this about a Leafs goaltender, Gordo, in years. Like, Joseph Woll is the real deal. Like, I thought he was great. He saved the bacon of this team so many times this season. What's your read been on Woll so far?
Yeah, first of all, our son Justin just talked to. I said I'm going on the podcast, and with Nick Alberga, and he goes, "Man, Nick gets some really good guests." So I thought I'd get someone better, but anyway, that's okay. It's. I remember very biasly that the Austin Matthews first overall pick, it was a Friday night in Buffalo, and it was like a rock concert. There was no intrigue who the Leafs are going to pick. It was just, it was crazy. Okay. The coronation. Then the next day, the draft goes quickly. Bang, bang, bang. And I'm on the radio. And Bruce, you came out, talked to us. You're coaching Washington. Like we needed to Todd Alushko, I. And then we found Sam Cosentino, finally someone that could, because bang, the picks keep going. And maybe not the best idea to be on live radio for 3 hours there. But I remember the PR took around Joe Woll, who, Austin Matthews was everything, but who they just drafted. He's wearing a Leaf sweater. He was just a very impressive young man. He just was. I just liked his deportment, his personality. He's battled some injuries, and I think he can be the first goaltender they've really developed from within since Felix Potvin. And that's not a swipe at James Reimer. James Reimer was kind of the accidental guy. He did a solid job, but he was never thought he was going to be the guy. It was going to be Justin Pogge or Andrew Raycroft or, whomever. So, yeah, I'm big on Joe Woll.
Hey, have you not the one thing I like about this guy, the breakaways that he can save in the third period, guys get breakaways, he saves them. In the shootout, they haven't scored on him, I think, in the last 2 games at least. So he is really good when the chips are down, I think. And that's what you need with a goalie, is you need a goalie that when things start getting a little crazy around him, that they don't let a soft goal go in the third period. And I don't think this guy does. I think he is the real deal.
But the bigger problem to me, guys, puck management. You can both speak to this, Gordo. We covered the Martin Marincin era pretty exclusively, and Gabby, you've seen this Leafs team, you've seen this league. I was having fits watching the second half of that game, Gabby, where it was like giveaway city. You're putting so much stress on your goalie. Like, I get it. He's making those saves, but like, they got to clean that up if they want to win some games here and win in regulation. That's been a big story too.
I think winning in regulation has been a big story because they've only won 5 of them, right? And every game, no matter what team or what caliber team they play. That seems to be coming down to a 1-goal game, which tells me I think the Leafs play to their opposition. I mean, the really good teams play at the same level all the time. I think the Leafs play to the level of their competition, and it would be nicer if they were a little more consistent on the upper end for me anyway. What do you think, Gord?
Well, God bless Martin Marincin. That's, he sort of became the
No, don't bless him.
I remember Mark Savard called Igor Ozagedov. I like that. So there's been a few of those different guys around, but hey, it's no secret. You look at right now, they're playing the 3D well over 20 minutes in Brody, Riley, and McCabe, and then the other three, they're not playing them 6 minutes. I mean, they're getting decent minutes, but it's a little bit of patchwork with names. These aren't even names like people at least knew Liljegren and Rasmus Sandin were coming up. These are names the average Leaf fan I don't think really thought of. And I think, they've been playing well enough. And again, they have not been giving up more than 3 goals in regulation time by and large. And, last year, you talk about the last 7 playoff games, the Leafs failed to score more than 2 goals.
Yes.
That's staggering because it's all about offense, but we quickly jump on the defense. And it's got to be upgraded in some way, shape, or form. And I expect Brad Treliving to do that. Also, when you get in the playoffs, you really can cut down to 4D and kind of spot your 5th and 6th like Chicago did with Kimmo Timonen that one year. You can do that a lot more than, like we're double shifting forwards in that. So
all depends on who the 4 are, Gord. I mean, you got Keith, you got, Brent Seabrook, they're in their prime. You can play them all night long. I mean, it's hard to play Giordano or even Brody, those kind of minutes in the playoffs because they're getting a little long in the tooth.
Yeah, well, I'm hearing that it could be Cale Makar or Quinn Hughes coming Toronto's way or something. So they're the kind of guys that you'd play about 35 minutes, right, Bruce?
If you could get those 2 guys coming to your team, the only thing is you would also have lost Nylander, Matthews, Tavares, and whoever else, and Marner probably if you had to get those 2 guys.
And you can you can use that scoop on NHL Network today. It'll be your last show, just so you know.
Okay. I will use that, and I think I would get a lot of gawking eyes from the people around me.
Probably. Is there a name that comes to mind? Like, we've been talking about Chris Tanev quite a bit, but Gordo, we brought this up last week. There's a lot of teams that are going to be after Chris Tanev. Are there like some ballpark names that you're thinking about, Gordo, that could make sense? Like, I know we saw over the weekend, I don't know they'll go near this, but Tyson Barrie's looking for a change of scenery again. Like, what kind of guy does a Tanev type Gordo make the most sense for this team right now?
Well, Tanev, I mean, Tyson Barrie's got to go to the right situation. Okay.
Yeah.
Tanev's more is a better all-round player. What do you got, Bruce? You got people coming in and out. There you go. You got a big crowd there. That's it. I'm a lonely guy down in the basement. I like that. I like you got lots of friends. It's good. So here's the thing. And Bruce, I think you would have been, you got certain general managers that let you in more than others. This is where you need your pro scouts. You need your amateur scouts and your pro scouts. So we can talk about all the guys that are out there, but, and so say you have 6 pro scouts, there's 1 or 2 you really have. Okay. They're like I got to call him back again. And that's where you want, opinion. You're watching them. And it may not be a name, or it may not be a sexy name, right? But where are they going to fit in on our D? And this person more often than not identifies exactly who would be an upgrade and where it would be. And that's where it comes down to organizations for the 32. And, we'll see how those chips fall.
I agree with you wholeheartedly. I mean, every time I would put up a board of our team and where we needed help, I needed help. Like, I mean, on the second line right wing, and that's what I'd want, is a guy that plays that position and not somebody that you have to overplay or isn't as good to get there. I'm just not looking for a right winger. I'm looking for a certain guy, and to find that right guy. Like when we talk about Chris Tanev, he's a right-hand shot with the Leafs need. And we talk about, he's a really solid defensive guy that blocks shots. To me, that's a fit. And what we all look at as for coaches, and when coaches and GMs are in sync with each other, are good fits for the team. That's what we, not necessarily the best player for that position. To give you a quick example, in Minnesota, we had a team that was in March 1st at the trade deadline was number one in the league, tied with Washington, and we were looking for another centerman to give us really good strength, and the best available was Martin Hanzal from Arizona at the time. So we went and got him, but he wasn't a good fit because it pushed Eric Hall down to the fourth line where he wasn't happy. Martin Hanzal had been playing 25 minutes a night. Now he's a third line center, checking center. He wasn't happy. So it's throughout the chemistry. So it wasn't that we got a bad player. We got a guy that didn't fit into our team. And I think that's what Gord's saying.
How about Ethan Bear? Would he make sense? He's a free agent.
I mean, he's a free agent. I don't even know if he's healthy yet, but I think somebody will pick him up. I mean, he's got the potential to play really pretty good, but I mean, he's a guy that I think would need a solid 10-game stint in the American League before he played.
Well, you know, and again, breaking down like Ethan Bear's got a bit of the X factor about having not played for a while and that. But you look last year, no one could do any better than a guy Bruce really likes, Luke Schenn. Luke Schenn came to be a 5th, 6th, 7th D, and he put him with Morgan Riley. He was a top 2 pairing, totally unexpected and totally for the league. And he gets a great contract with Nashville, and probably might be part of why Tyson Barrie's available again out of Nashville. But you know, that's the kind of thing. Like he wasn't the sexiest name at all. I remember, like, he's the nicest guy, and Bruce had him in Vancouver. And I remember about 4 or 5 years ago seeing him down by the visited dressing room back when it was Air Canada Center, and kind of, you know, kidding. He goes, yeah, I'm seeing the West Coast team by team every year. Because remember, every year he was Arizona, I think LA, like he really was, and always
Anaheim.
Really,
he was in Anaheim as well.
Yeah. So, you know, that was as good a pick as anybody did last year. Now, I don't know how much was, I don't ever want to use the word luck, but seeing how he would fit, you know, being assessed. And then, hey, you can only have so many guys on with Morgan Riley, which helped Schenn, but he also helped Morgan Riley the way he played. So, I mean, that would be a great to get that kind of player, not the sexy, the lowest key trades from last year.
Yeah, I mean, when Luke played with Quinn Hughes in Vancouver, was the same kind of thing. It allowed Quinn to roam a little bit, just as it allowed Morgan to roam a little bit, knowing they have backup, that a guy's not going to be up the ice with them. And he was their sort of, you go do what you do, I'll protect you, I'll stay back, we'll do fine. And that gave both those great defensemen a lot of confidence in doing what they did.
I'm happy you guys brought that up, because Luke Schenn's actually going to join us later on this week to tee up his another return to Toronto, like his 12,000th return to Scotiabank Arena as a former Toronto Maple Leaf. But Luke Schenn's coming up later in the week. Gordo, phenomenal stuff. Why don't you tee up the book one more time? Where can people buy it?
Well, you can order on, where do you order again? What's it called? Indigo? Is that
Amazon.
The big bookstore? Amazon, Indigo. It's at the Indigo bookstores. It's I got one here somewhere. Anyway, it's doing really well. It is. It's a labor of love. And yeah, the normal websites that you get, and all the bookstores, and I guarantee I sound like a shill, but no, I'm very proud of it. It'll be I know kids today don't read so much, but books so much, but it's a really good read. And Bruce was a big part in Bruce's memory's great. So he's one of the, because some guys' memory isn't great. So Bruce's memory's great. So he helped with the book, and he was part of that team.
Fantastic stuff. An absolute stocking stuff for Gord. Great to be back with you. I missed the times talking Leafs hockey with you. This has been phenomenal, buddy. Thanks for this.
And Bruce, I got a book if you bring $35, okay, when I see you next time. Okay.
Canadian though, right? 35 Canadian?
No, it's American. Sorry.
Oh,
yeah,
dang.
Yeah.
See you, Gordo.
Okay.
Hey, Nick, we had a blast. Thanks. Great catching up with both you guys.
Thanks for coming on. Sorry about tomorrow, but I'll be in a car all day, so I can't help you on the show.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But yeah. I'll talk to you Thursday.
Okay, good. Sounds good.
See you, Gordo. The one and only Gord Stellick. I just sat back there, Gabby, and you guys are such pros. Thank you once again. I had some technology problems there. My computer just shut off, but like I knew that if there's two people who can handle things for a couple minutes, it's probably you two, eh?
Well, all I know is don't let it shut off now. because then I have nothing to talk. I'm talking into a blank screen. I'm just starting to feel comfortable talking to other guys on the radio, on the TV, like that. I was talking to my wife about it and said, I'm starting not to stutter as much when I'm doing the TV or the radio. So don't you go by yourself. I don't want to be I don't want to be like Scott Laughlin, just all by himself with nobody to hang with. I wouldn't be good at that.
And that's the one thing, I'm happy you brought that up. Like, that's the one thing people don't realize, how difficult. Like, Bob McCowan was a very well-respected name in Canada for a long, long period of time, primetime sports radio. It is so hard to do a show by yourself. And like, I was going to start the show early because obviously you were preoccupied to begin things, but it's just so hard to talk by yourself. Like, I don't even know where you start,
Yeah, I mean, to me, you're almost reading off something and talking. I'm guessing as we're talking here, talking to the camera and asking questions, and then you want to instantly have a phone-in show because then people can phone you and at least you can answer the questions.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. No, it's going well so far. You're killing it. It's been great to have you the last couple of days. Wendy's is letting you win real food with your fantasy teams this year with the Wendy's Daily Face-Off Survivor Pool. Sign up to play the Daily Face-Off Survivor Pool to win weekly prizes like new chicken strips and French toast sticks from Wendy's and the Wendy's app. Head on over to dailyfaceoffsurvivor.com to play today. Dailyfaceoffsurvivor.com. Just want to tee up the week ahead here for the Maple Leafs. Couple more minutes and we'll wrap here, Gabby. Thursday at Ottawa, Saturday home to the Nashville Predators. How did you typically handle this? I know you talked about this off the top of the show. How did you typically handle this as the coach with a couple of days off? Is it time to lick your wounds? A lot of practice? Do you keep it light?
Well, I mean, there's always a day off in between there. I mean, you have they may have taken Sunday off. I always liked Sunday when you didn't do anything to be a family day. So many things going on that you're with the kids. I mean, there's no school, so I mean, so then they would practice Monday, and a lot of times if it was in the middle of the season, in the heart of the season, you could practice hard on Monday, take Tuesday off, have a good practice, and then play. Or you could have like an off ice workout and have very minimal on ice stuff, because it gets mundane if you're practicing 3 and 4 days in a row in the middle of the season. The players really don't like it. I mean, they want a little bit of something different, a different feeling in there. But the one thing you have to do as a coach, you have to make it to the point where they're excited to come to the rink. So whatever days you choose, you want to make them come to the rink and get a good workout. I always used to think that no matter how long practice was, we have to gain something out of this. There's got to be some, whether it's one drill we want to accomplish or whether it's conditioning, whatever, we have to make sure that we just don't go out there for the sake of going out there. Because in March and April, that comes back to get a little tiring. So you have to have a reason to go out there, and you have to make sure that the one thing you want to do, you get it done right.
I love David writing in the chat, bag skate. I don't think that's a thing anymore, is it?
You know what? It's always hidden bag skates. Like, I mean, in the old days, bag skates used to be meaning without pucks. Okay. And now you make sure that you can do things, but you have the pucks with them. I mean, you can go back, down and back, down and back. But I mean, as long as there's pucks and there's a drill involved, then it's nowhere near as boring as, okay, line up on the goal line. Let's go, like on Miracle, or, let's go to the blue line again. Those things aren't done very often, unless I would think maybe you lose 2 games by 10 goals or something. Then maybe you might have something not wanting to come to work the next day.
Mark writes in, Gabby, you should write a book. You ever thought about writing a book?
Yeah, I mean, I've got one book out there. Like, I mean, they asked me to write a book after my first year in Washington, and it's called Gabby Stories of a Hockey Lifer. But I was asked this summer by a couple different people and a couple different literary agents and everything to write a book. And the problem is I still want to work in the NHL. And if I wrote a tell-all book or whatever this time, there would be some people not liking what I wrote. And I didn't want to do that. I mean, I didn't want to look like I'm a sour grape type of guy. And I could tell a lot of really funny stories, and that might be something in the future I think of. But I mean, right now, I mean, I don't really want to skewer a lot of people. I've been very lucky to work in this league and work in hockey in general for almost 50 years. So I didn't want to make it look like I'm a sourpuss, and just because I got let go in a wrong way, I think, in Vancouver to look like I'm trying to get even.
I think you could write a book just on your experience in Vancouver alone, but we'll look for that well down the road. I should mention as well that interview with Gord Stellick was brought to you by Sober Carpenter. Hold the alcohol, keep the flavor, enjoy a range of non-alcoholic beers so good that you'll think it's the real thing. Look for Sober Carpenter at Sobeys, Loblaws, Whole Foods, Metro, Farm Boy, and other retailers today. Again, Gord Stellick was fantastic. You can check out Revival, the chaotic, colorful journey of the 1977-78 Toronto Maple Leafs, wherever you find your books, online or in store as well. As we transition to Betano, brought to you by Betano, the 2023 EGR winner for both the Best Sportsbook Operator of the Year and Best In-Play Sports Operator Awards. The game starts now. Quick play for me tonight. I don't know if you caught this over the weekend. The Tampa Bay Lightning were just hammered by the Dallas Stars. I like Tampa to return serve tonight. What's your thoughts on the Lightning in general this season, Gabby?
I mean, who knows? I mean, their first line is great. We forget, like last year, there was a lot of games, whether it was Vasilevsky in the net or whoever, where they allowed 6 and 7 goals. And if you look up their stats, and I mean, some people don't put a lot of stock into it. I tend to think that it really shows trends, is their plus minus. And Tampa's got an awful lot of high minus guys, which tells me they're living and dying right now on their power play. And if their power play is not good, they don't win. If their power play is good, they win. But that's a tough way to live when you're depending on somebody else to take a penalty for you to survive. And I just don't like the way they're playing. I think they've gotten, I mean, they're not as good as they were last year. And last year wasn't as good as the years before. And finally, it's catching up to them a little bit. They're doing what they can, and there's some nights they put it together. But I mean, for the most part, they're not as bad as they were in Dallas, but they're not as good as when they were in Carolina. I mean, when they won 8-2 in Carolina, let's not forget they only had 16 shots on goal that night. So it's going to be interesting. I think tonight's game is a real must-see TV if you're a hockey fan, because we'll see what they're made of internally after getting smoked by Dallas 8-2, to see if they can come back and not only return the favor. I don't care what the goal differential is, but if they could come back and win the game, I think would be a big coup for them.
Yeah, we'll see what that team is made of. I was in Tampa a couple of weeks ago. I actually checked out that game, the Lightning and Oilers, and it was pretty much what you would expect. 5-4, I think, was the final, or 6-5. It was just scoring, and you need defense to win in this league. So we'll see when it comes to Tampa. Of course, the Leafs seem to have their number the last little while as well. Gabby, the last couple of shows have been so much fun. Thank you so much for wearing a suit and tie today. You're such a professional, the way you've handled things the last couple of times out here.
Well, I appreciate you having me on, Nick. It's been great, and I mean, one day we'll come on and we'll do a wrestling show.
Oh, I'm so in. I'm so in
all
for
those
that.
Wrestling guests, get Kevin in and guys like that, and we could have some fun. Get Jackie Redmond, and she'll give us the inside scoops on everything. It'll be good.
We're going to do it someday. Edge, CM Punk, the whole list. So this has been a lot of fun at the Leafs Nation 401, where you can subscribe on YouTube. Jay Rosehill back in the mix tomorrow. We'll continue to get you set for Thursday's game. The Battle of Ontario, round 2 of the season between the Leafs and the Ottawa Senators. For Bruce Boudreau, I'm Nick Alberga. Thanks so much for watching. Take care.
Thank you for watching Leafs Morning Take. Hit that subscribe button and never miss a show. And for more, visit theleafsnation.com. TheLeafsNation.com. If you don't know how to spell the Leafs Nation, you know what I mean? But hey, sometimes you never know.